Oh, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I hope you're in the mood to learn a little StarCraft, because I certainly am. Hence the logo that is behind my head. I am in a fantastic mood today. Oh my god, my mood is like unreal good. Because I was encountering a programming problem that was driving me insane and solved it at 5:48. Thanks to none other than Mr. Cerebral09, Mr. Travis Willard from the chat, the mod here on Day 9 TV, the legend himself, which is the perfect time for a show because I'm now filled with a sense of euphoria for us to talk about our topic of the day, which is best versus light. I am, for the most part, reaching the end of the core content in Let's Learn StarCraft. In other words, I just basically don't have a lot of the let's talk just about workers, and a whole episode about workers, or an episode just about Zerg vs. Zerg. And I want to just start, instead of stopping the show, transitioning more to doing reviews of games like the ones that we're going to be doing today. And this one features Light, the Terran, versus Best, the Protoss, and they're two players that have extremely distinct styles, and I think it's really, really fun to watch because, honestly, we cannot tell a lie. If you're a little inexperienced, a little rusty, your style is generally messing up, right? That's generally the look and feel of the things in your game. But if you are sufficiently excellent, you can wind up focusing so hard on some area of the game that gives you an edge so consistently that we begin to recognize your gameplay from that. Light is famous for having an attacker's style. He's always looking for an opportunity to drop in Terran vs. Protoss, Terran vs. Zerg, to harass, to kill off workers, to build extra factories early. Actually, let me back up. I want to talk just about his Terran vs. Protoss style primarily, but in all matchups, Light is really, really aggressive. So in Terran vs. Protoss, whereas Flash would maybe stay on 2 factories, build an armory, get a 3rd base quite quickly, Light is the kind of player who would stay with 1 factory with add-on, get multiple factories without add-on, get a starport before expanding, try to do drop, try to harass, these types of things. And even as the game goes on, Light is the kind of player who, whereas Flash would just build more tanks, get more upgrades, be more sturdy, Light would add on dropships to send the, double tank drops with vulture support to disparate locations of the map. He's the kind of player who creates an extraordinary amount of chaos, which is honestly one of the big reasons why he was always a real all-star to watch all his times at NBC Game Hero when he played there. I think that he went to SKT1, right? I'm starting to be filled with doubt and all that shit, but whatever. Best is kind of, in many ways, one of the most uniquely aggressive players in StarCraft, because when people typically talk aggression in StarCraft Brood War, they talk about micromanagement, small-scale armies hitting at once, drops coming in. It's sort of like Flash is good at attacking at one place at once firmly. Aggressive players we think of as the 3 or 4 attacks at once, or multiple attacks in sequence. The thing that's really interesting about Best is that he's known as being the most revolutionary macro player in the history of Protoss. He figured out all sorts of little tricks of cutting workers, cutting unit production to sneak in extra gateways in order to get these enormous armies. And so when you watch Best, he has way more bases, way more Protoss units than your average Protoss bear. And then he does these huge, gigantic attacks. They're not the small-scale attacks that we might know of Light. Best is a big army player. And so watching these two play against each other, I thought would be really fun to examine, not just the fundamentals of Terran vs. Protoss, which is a fun matchup to talk about anyways, but also, dude, stylistically, who comes out on top? These were some practice games that the two of them played. We here have Best in the bottom left corner under the name Louvre. And here we have Eros Light, which, as you might imagine, that's Light. There he is. The map's fighting spirit. I mean, I cannot tell a lie. All of these replays that I have, this particular replay is from 2016. All the replays that are from like the 2014 to 2017 era, like all of them are on fighting spirit. And I would say that generally speaking, this is the kind of map that I would give a heavy favoritism to Best for. Not against Light, but just in general, because it's really nicely tuned to his style of just lots of expansions, lots of massing, lots of bombing in. But Light, I also think this Fighting Spirit is a sort of a test of his type of gameplay. There's not really that terribly many good attacking angles on this map. This is a very easy bridge to defend against, and Terran can swing in from this angle and technically from below, but I mean, you just pull back to this one choke. In terms of dropping angles, the main is pretty well defended, and, you know, if I remove this unit panel for a moment, once a player has his third base, there's essentially no good angles to drop. There's technically this point, and there's technically this point. So, ordinarily, you would do the analysis, and you'd be like, yeah, no, I really don't think that an attacking style has that many opportunities here. By the way, the difference between StarCraft and other games... Actually, I shouldn't specifically single out StarCraft. You can really tell this in a lot of games that have incredible depth. It's not that things are bad, it's that it generally doesn't look like there's that good of an opportunity for it. Just to give the shout out to Smash Melee. Recently, Plup performed very well at an event. I can't remember the name of it, but he wound up like winning it, and tons of people were talking about how, yeah, he won in that matchup that you're not supposed to win. I want to highlight that for any of you who are interested in stylistically tuning your play to some angle. You can be like Light and play on a map like this and still play aggressively. That's okay. That's totally okay. So one thing that we'll just note right now, I actually have to back up because, you know, it was a Nexus first. I was busy talking about Light's style. But we're going to watch Best hurl right on out a 12 Nexus, which is one of the builds that we talked about in the Terran vs. Protoss openings videos. And something that's really interesting when players, for a while, were trying to figure out how to do these ultra-fast Nexuses. Think for a moment, you're Best, and you want to play against Light, who's an aggressive player. Zealots can be easily kited by both tanks and vultures, but here we see a double gateway come right out for Best. Still building probes this entire time, and this, I think, is a really great example of what is so impressive about Best as a player, is these sort of weird things that he'll do like this. Now, when I'm doing this kind of build, I always get very tempted to be a little bit cautious with my just generally focusing on the probing at all points in time. And I want to be a little careful about building these gateways too early, because given typical intuition in StarCraft, you'd be like, this is bad, this is bad. There's two gateways doing nothing, doing nothing, doing nothing, doing nothing. But this is kind of hallmark Best. Best gets over here, he scouts, he started a Zealot, he canceled the Zealot. Best was famous for canceling units, not building units, by scouting and figuring out what his opponent was up to. But note, he's starting it and then canceling it. Typically the way, especially in StarCraft 2, like if you've been watching StarCraft 2, which you should be because Scarlet is on fire! Also, shout out to Cyril, you deserve it too, you're amazing. In StarCraft 2, oftentimes when you commit a worker to scouting or commit some sort of observer to scouting, you will see and then respond by building 2 more gateways, or by starting a robotics facility, or starting detection, or beginning another factory. It's like the trigger point to do something. And Brood War has been around a teensy bit longer than StarCraft 2. Brood War's been around for 20 years, and a lot of those optimizations players had figured out, and Best was the one who kind of went the extra mile and said, like, okay, how do I, instead of building one gateway, seeing that he's attacking, and then building a second one, I don't have time to do that. So do I build two and commit to building the units and then go in there? That's kind of the build that I do if I'm doing this 12 Nexus. I just build the Zealots because that's the build, man. That's how you stay safe. But here, this very clever cancel allows Best to get out 2 Dragoons right away. He's saved the money, so he was able to build probes constantly. And then there's the probe that's outside the front. Now, this is my theory. I don't know if this is true or not, but I think Light typed that question mark because Light's wondering where on earth in the hell the Zealots are. Like, why would you ever do this? But don't forget, we saw that that Zealot was started and then canceled. These characters are not displaying correctly. He's not just saying, why? We'll never know. We'll never know what they're saying. We'll never ever know. So I've been spending a lot of time over here in Camp Best. This is what's really cool, is that we're seeing Light do a build that literally is just not done, man. You just don't do this. Okay, look at this. This is Siege Tank, Siege Tank, Siege Tank, Siege Tank, and a handful of Marines. And in fact, if I back up, just to give you the confidence, if I back up for the last few minutes, there hasn't been, like, mines researching. There hasn't been anything else being researched. Only just now are Siege Tanks being built. This is the aggression of Light versus the macro of Best. Isn't this exciting? Isn't this just delightful to see this sort of variation? Players just don't do this almost ever. They don't do these 2 factory builds on this map because it's so nice to early expand. Ooh, and we can build a command center, and we can wall off with the barracks and the and we can build the eBay and the barracks, then we can take a 3rd base, and Flash is just sitting there eyeing the 3rd base like a thirsty beta. Oh my god, yeah, why not do that? Well, Light is going to show how, on a map where it doesn't look like there's a lot of opportunities, he's going to find some opportunities. First of all, this is an excellent engagement platform just in the early game for Siege Tanks to be on the far side and to creep their way forward here. This ridge is pretty obnoxious. You can even just put 1 tank here, shoot at this Nexus, but of course Best is going to try to answer, and I think very quickly Best is going to realize, uh-oh, not so good. But there's one thing that I love here, and I'm going to use Purge's words here because I just love this. Sometimes, if you're in a bad situation, it's important to understand when to fight to the death. Best, who has essentially only Dragoons at this point in time, marches forward and identifies that he needs to start killing tanks, goes in, it's clear he's going to lose, and he doesn't flinch once. On the back side of this, more gateways being added, robotics facility being added. All of these structures that are being built here by Best are a little bit earlier due to the fact that he did some of the clever Zealot canceling early on in addition to the fast expansion. So look at this. Has enough critical numbers to 2-shot that tank. Does not move these Dragoons back at all. He's dead. When there were 4 Dragoons left, it was clear that he was super duper dead. But he still stayed and did as much damage as he possibly could. There's another thing that, when I watch Stork play, Stork is especially good at going, yeah, this expansion's dead, I'm pulling my probes back, nice. Halts probe production in the main because he has 2 Nexuses worth of probes that have been building this whole time. Remember this little tank spot that we talked about being annoying? Yeah, do you see that it's annoying? You should see that it's annoying, because it's annoying. At this point in the game, you're noticing that Light is replenishing with mostly Vultures. A tank here and there is being built to ensure that his tank count can stay acceptably high. But by building mostly Vultures, Vultures are helpful against cloaked units, mines are high damage against pretty much everything. You need hardly any tanks if you have lots of mines in there at the front to support. Light starts to lock down the map by just burrowing in a big ring around. Another turret's coming down to be exceptionally annoying. And by building mostly vultures, Light is saving up enough money to throw down this expansion. I didn't get a chance to see if Best built Zealot legs. Oh, also, by the way, for any of you who are curious why we're starting late today, I had workmen in the house because the apartment needed to do some sort of maintenance stuff. I don't really know what they were doing, but something internetly. Something electricality. So great. Let's watch how Best recovers from this situation, while still sticking to his trademark ultra macro style, sort of hallmark of which is the Zealot. I'd like to stress something. You would look at this spot, you'd see like, oh yeah, oh he flew right by that, this is a desperation move, completely contained, oh my gosh, look at the supplies, man. 71 to 45. This is what everyone talks about when they're always just shocked at how good of a player Best is. And he's very good at doing this low on Dragoon, high on Zealot style, where he just winds up with so much stuff. This is a very nice tactic. There's a probe that was in the shuttle in order to do a little bit of additional scouting. This drop is very unlikely going to be able to really do that much, but another little nice tactic. He unloads down there in the main, floats the shuttle around up here. And this way, the Dark Templar are able to get some free reign in here. Nice little windows of opportunity being created by Best. And this is part of the reason why a lot of the pros say that if you want detection, you get an academy. Yeah, missile turrets can detect, but you don't want to rely on them for detection because of little moves like this. In the meantime, we're seeing in the supplies, still just massive amounts of Zealots, some Archons being made. Now, why the Archons? This is like the perfect example to talk about the wrong thing is still good if you have a lot of it. Archons, they kind of suck, right? Take full damage from every single unit. I should say shields take full damage from every single unit. And Archons are pretty much big old balls of shields. And so, why would you ever want to build Archons if tanks and vultures are dealing full damage to them? They don't set off mines, which is kind of a minor thing, because if the mines pop up and blow up against the Archons, if the mines pop up and then blow up against another unit, the Archon still takes damage. And for that reason, it's like, why build them? Well, because Light has Best contained. Best is in a low econ situation and just wants to spend all his resources to get out as much as he humanly possibly can. Technically, he could build, like, a Dragoon and then wait for a little bit and then build another Dragoon, but Best is excellent at making these macro-style decisions. And this is one example. Love this. Underneath the unit panel, we see the Dark Templar starting to pick off supply depots and all that good stuff. No shame in just killing supply depots. No shame in killing anything if it's free. Free damage is the best kind of damage. Not damage to workers, not damage to any specific kind of unit. Whoops. Damage to anything that's free. So I have to rewind just a sec because this is a lot of action that's happening in the game. First of all, remember that probe? That probe that Best had in that shuttle? Love this. Just sneaky hidden expansion. Dark Templar distraction here. And now with this giganto army that's being built up. This is the kind of aggression that Best is famous for, man. Just endless rows of Zealots being controlled really well. These ones in the front target the bunker. These ones continue to charge forward to push back the tanks. I think this is a very brave siege by Light, because this is a lot of Zealots, man. Zealots being split out nicely. Classic Light. Light goes, well, I'm losing the fight. Time to run right past burrow mines and kill workers. Woo! Woo! You know, I wasn't expecting this first game to actually be so good of a representation of how these two players play, but I guess, you know, when you have a style, you have a style, man. instant expand because, well, let's be honest, these minerals are looking a little bit unhealthy. And let's be even more honest, vultures are killing them. God, Day9 is truly a man of honesty. And if you've ever watched Light's stream, I don't know if Best streams, I mean, maybe I just incidentally haven't seen it, but I mean, like, dude, Light always winds up in these zany bonker shit games. They amuse me so much, man. Whereas these little Zalts running around that still hasn't planted mines because it's the best decision that he was able to find for them. So, we've entered into a very weird situation. Few things that we're going to see happen right now. So, we've transitioned from a very weird opening of this 2 factory pressure into Dark Templar drop into a hidden expansion. We're seeing it sort of enter into a period of stability, so the rules of Terran vs. Protoss still apply. Terran really needs to start just massing up tanks for defense, so that way Terran can get to the point where he can do a extra command center, so he can do a factory explosion. Protoss is going to be watching for that. Protoss is now going to just sweep the map for mines. And it's kind of funny because it's the same statement, but until you actually stop and think about it, this can look really foreign. What does Protoss want to do? Oh, he wants to move out with observers and pick off mines. These mines happen to be like weird containing mines that are being placed at a very odd location on the map. We're starting to see Dragoons as the main force moving out. Shuttles with Zealots in here. There's the unusual Archon, but, you know, no big deal. We can look past that. Forge being constructed for upgrades in late game. We see Protoss leaving Dragoons in positions to be able to deal with some sort of Vulture counterattack. This is, I think, perhaps the purest example of, like, free damage. This is not going to work. This is not going to be good. It's an Archon drop against Terran. Are we serious? Are we serious with this shit right now? It's an Archon drop against Terran. Don't go back to your StarCraft notebooks and write, I discovered a new meta today. It's the Archon drop against the Terran. It's wrong. It's wrong, but Best has nothing better to do with this shuttle. And so we can look for some free damage. If you're feeling your APM get up, and you have extra time to manage your units, this is a great decision to do. This is an excellent decision. There's nothing better for this to do. There's no Wraith out, so we may as well maybe get a unit, 2 units. This Archon drop. Oh, it's the new meta! Oh! I think this is a particularly sick move as well from Light, and I think a lot of players don't do this. Typically, when players are playing a normal game, there's just no way that your opponent even has the cash to throw this down if you've been applying the appropriate amount of pressure. And so many times, typical Terrans don't scout, and then when they get into a zany game, they forget to scout. We will recall that Light always plays absolute bonker dicks games, and so he is scouting here appropriately. And these poor photon cannons showed up late, but I still have deep respect for the fact that Best broke out of his main, where he was contained, and said, you know what, it's still smart to build the forge to get the cannons so I can defend that base. Really see the strong macro focus from Best. The fact that he's just saying, you know what, as long as I can keep those bases, we're good. And look, it's been scouted. Queuing up a bunch of probes. I will encourage you not to Q5. I encourage you to do that. But you know what? Do whatever you want, man. I'm in a great mood today. I figured out a coding problem this morning. Afternoon, evening. Well, Travis did, and I attended it. Terran siege tank. Moving out to attack. So again, this is trademark Light. Most players would be looking for an opportunity to upgrade and to take a third, and they would generally be halting a lot of Vulture production. Here Light has added on a single factory and is doing 2 factories making Vultures, 1 factory making tanks. The general mixture, I like to say, that is incorrect in a lot of ways, but it's still useful to say. You kind of want like 60 to 70% vultures, 30 to 40% siege tanks. You want like 2 factories making tanks and 4 factories making vultures, kind of like that. Or 1 factory making tanks, 2 factories making vultures. Thereabouts, it'll generally settle to. And I say those as 2 different things because your vultures will be dying a lot. Technically, if you're building, you know, 2 and 1, and these are building faster, you're going to have like 80-20, but your vultures die a lot, so it winds up being more like 60-40, 70-30. But in the circumstance, Light is just looking for opportunities to attack. Best is positioning himself to be able to intercept using really nice observer stuffs. And this is the kind of aggression I love out of Best, where he's like, oh, I see any opportunity at all. How many Dragoons does he have? Dude, 7 Dragoons. That's it, man. Everything else is Zealot. It's a more efficient unit. Power it, man. And after that attack, Best does more trademark Best. You watch Stork. Stork's like, I will live here in a mass of Dragoons. But Best just keeps trying to find opportunities to attack. Keeps trying to find opportunities to deal damage, to push back, gonna pick off the barracks. And all the while this is going on, probes are getting built. Not back here because we're basically at saturation. Well, with these ones having like 68 minerals left, you know, you don't want to build too many probes. But glorious mass gateways, churning out Dragoons. And this is what I always find so impressive about Best, is that no matter what's going on, he just gets so much stuff, man. Gosh, he gets a lot of stuff. If we take a look at Best's vision, I'm always impressed with how many observers are here. 1 at the front, 1 that was in the middle, this one was just moving out, here's another one, here's another one. I mean, these aren't the best places for the observer because, I don't know, it looks like Best has maybe been a little distracted this game, but he'll be spreading them out soon enough. There's just so many observers. Now, in this rough position that Light's in, where he has just now started this upgrade, where has a really sad command center that just looks sad floating over here, how does Light free up opportunities for himself to be able to step out and extend onto the map? Light does a lot of like 3 vulture harass, 2, 4 vultures, not like 8 moving out, just tiny little strike squads. Very pulled back position. More Dragoons trying to move out and sweep, expansions going down. And once again, Best is always looking for an excuse to just switch to mass Zealot production. And so he does. Little ninja vultures coming down here to be able to help with little siege tank buddies. 3rd expansion's going to go up, and now we actually kind of have what looks like a normal game. I always love to talk about how if you tune into the game right now, how would you think it would have opened? May have looked like Best just snuck an expansion at the outset of the game. How does that not shoot? It's like only Zealots, man. Now this next one, this is not an Archon. You should be researching Storm, yeah. Once upon a time, Flash was doing his famous +2/+1 style, which was a style where he got an early +1 upgrade, and then got a 2nd armory at just the right time to be able to start +2 attack, +1 armor. And from there, Flash would just keep building up on 3 bases, move out in 1 big attack, and that would be the end of the game. And he was winning like 80-90% of games. Maybe even close to 100% of games. He seemed like he had found the build to beat Protoss. And then he played this epic game against... Oh, that's right. Protosses were only able to beat Flash if they could do some sort of weird early doofy attack or Dark Templar drop and throw him off. And Best played a game against Flash where Best just expanded, built up a large army, built arbiters, teched up, just played super solid, ultra macro style, And when Flash's army came out, Best completely crushed it. And it was the first time that Flash had ever just lost with that style, playing the exact way that he wanted. Now let's talk about Hallmark Best, shall we? Here is the position where 99% of Protosses would want to just wait for Terran to move out. This is what Best is famous for, where he's like, no, I see an opportunity, man. Look at how many Zealots this dude has, man. Oh my gosh, his Valentine's Day basket didn't have any fruit in it. It was just Zealots. And I mean, this is a horribly inefficient fight for Best. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, dude. It doesn't matter. He didn't even use the shuttle yet. He waited till he'd broken through. Isn't this glorious? Oh my god, this is so great. Oh, the satisfaction. And guess what he's building on the back end? Zealots. This is what always made Best a real treat to watch, man. Often, if you're a passive Terran up against a passive Protoss, it's up to you to move out. Take the big engagements. A lot of Protosses get frustrated because they feel like they can never break in and pierce. And Best is just like, he never seems to even be concerned about that. He's like, oh, so you have like mines and siege tanks on cliffs? I have Zealots. Alright, here we go. And actually, if we just briefly step back into the game, these are +2 Zealots and Dragoons. Really nice. And also, if I play Protoss and I try to do that, literally all my units get clogged at the bridge, die. It's the end of the story. It's a sad story. I don't even like it. They won't make a movie out of that. They can't greenlight it. You can't even put Guillermo del Toro on that movie and have it get greenlit. They're like, but it needs to have the man and the woman fall in love in the end. No, they both died on the bridge because Commander Day 9 sent them to their death because he watched too many Best replays. I don't know how Best is able to do this every single time consistently. But let's go ahead and watch the second game that these two fine gentlemen played on Fighting Spirit. There we go. Alright. It's like a screen transitions lag a little bit. For whatever reason, StarCraft Remastered is the only game that I've loaded onto my computer in the last 5 years that lags XSplit. It's because even my encoder is taking time away from its job to respect the intellectual masterpiece that is StarCraft. We have Best in the bottom right, we have Light in the top right. They're gonna play themselves another game on the Spirit of Fighting. Now, this is the type of opening that could be something very aggressive. It could be a block for the expansion to just do some one-gate shenaniganry. The existence of no gas geyser means Best is going to be sending in that Zealot. Go, Zealot. And this is the type of opening that you have to execute it very thoughtfully as a Protoss. It's not a rush build where you are just trying to deal huge damage and then win with an advantage. You have to very carefully plan out these two Zealots. You build one, build a Cybernetics core, build a second, and you're really looking for a few things. One is big information. If you can get any additional information as to what your opponent is doing, like if you get here and there's a second factory up, then you immediately get to cross off early expanding, you immediately get to prepare for defense, and you're very happy. Light has done an excellent job with these supply depot placements. Here Marines can get through, here Marines can get through, and Zealots cannot get through any of this. Is Best forcing stuff? No, hell no. But Best does see a Vulture's getting produced, and again, he's being very thoughtful. He's not just bombing in there trying to deal damage with early Zealots, because isn't that what you're supposed to do? He's just thoughtfully identifying what's happening and is retreating. Light, so elegant with this follow-up. He builds these Marines, he builds the single Vulture. He's going to be able to actually start a command center almost immediately. Even though this aggression came in, it was all thanks to his excellent building placement. Is this the SCV that just died there? I think it is. I don't even know this Dragoon has a kill. Yep, there's the Vulture. Similarly, Light is going to be saying, alright, are you expanding? I'm going to send my Vulture in. I see nothing. I mean, I can't cross it off immediately, but, you know, at least I know that you didn't go for some sort of ultra-fast Nexus. Just trying to cross off possibilities relatively quickly. Scouting is always nice. Gives a big feeling of comfort, and the Vulture is, of course, way faster than everything else. There's something that Last said, which is that if you are a confident Terran, you can get mines first, but if you're ever feeling concerned, you can just get siege mode. Most pros prefer the mines. And look at this, this calm game. Calm game. What I'm going to be looking for now is two things. Stylistically, Light, the aggressive player, is he going to be doing something like throwing down a whole bunch of, you know, factories, starport, trying to do some magical stuff? And similarly, I'm going to be looking for the beautiful ways that Best prepares himself to do these big, big macro-style plays. And a lot of it's really subtle. It's stuff like right now, there's no Dragoons being made for quite some time out of these two gateways. I think there's, well, there's the third one there, but just waiting a little bit. Little waits and little delays that are very hard to explain. It's not like, you know, oh, he is build mine, so I have to build observer. Ah, I'm so smart, right? It's, you know, it's like, well, I think I can get away with 10 Dragoons instead of 12 Dragoons here. I've seen Light do this a few times, where he goes one factory, armory, and this is generally not to do a very passive play. I mean, it can be used passively, but generally if you're getting this really early, you can do a kind of like a 1-1 timing push. The problem with trying to play super passively, well, okay, so there's a real balance you have to strike with upgrades, because let's say you try to get 2 armories really, really fast, and just get, you get one factory, double armories. What's going to happen is that you're going to get like a 2-2 army where you have like 6 tanks. Your army's too small, so your upgrades, it would have been better off to just have the units. Or, if you get upgrades really late, you have just a big mass of floppy wet noodle units. No good. No one likes a floppy wet noodle. And so, looking at these timings, Flash tends to get 2 factories, which is a nice amount to build up a tank, and then an armory, and then a second armory after the first upgrade's done, and then boom, he explodes out with 9 factories. So he has a ton of tanks and a whole bunch of vultures to back it up. When there's a really, really early armory like this, typically it means that that player wants to stay on one armory for a long time, or is going for some sort of timing push associated with it. So that's what I'm going to be looking for from Mr. Light. Citadel of Doom en route. Another thing that very trademark Best really likes getting this Citadel pretty fast. I mean, often players are relying largely on Dragoons, the more passive a player's going, and generally you'll see like 4 gateways. 4 gateways is like about right. You get 4 gateways. Classic Best, only 3 gateways. Real fast Citadel. Going straight into Arbiters. And I've grown to appreciate this style a little bit more. I just really like third bases a lot, so I always get leery if I don't have one. But going like 2 base and building a lot of gateways and getting really fast Arbiters, Free does this a lot. And again, I think this is the big notable moment we have. Oh yeah, here it is. Here's the big timing push. Oh my god, my reads are so sick. Oh my god, D9! So, Best is building a lot of gateways, and if you watch someone like a Free would just be building units out of 6 gateways, out of 7 gateways or so, and adding Arbiters to the mix. Best will just keep referencing the production. Often builds nothing out of these. Builds a lot of gateways, builds a lot of nexuses, builds a lot of tech. So this was a critical scout. These turrets needed a third buddy there to really wall things off. So it looks like a very fast +1 timing push coming out of Light. And I've seen him do this exact build like so many times before. Whoa! Not with the starport. It was covered up by this. Oh! He does a 3-factory, really aggressive push and expands behind it. Which is pretty slick. Nexus going down. Gateways building nothing. Building nothing. Can build stuff. Nothing's being built. So cool to see these styles, man. It's just like some Dragoons, not 6 Dragoons. There's a few Dragoons and a Zealot. So Light does these really annoying, efficient drops where he's not... He sometimes will do the big plays. You know, where it's like 2 dropships with 4 tanks and a bunch of vultures marching in, but he's really good about doing drops with like 1 vulture or 2 vultures. Enough to be super annoying. Here's another attack upgrade going down. Is there a second armory here that I'm missing? I mean, I definitely don't think there is, but... Typically, you just don't get +2 attack like this. Typically, you always get that second armory. So, you would go +1 attack, +1 armor, and then upgrade 2-2 and 3-3 simultaneously. Not Light! He likes to blow stuff up. Well, let's let him have it. Great timing on the expansion for best. This interestingly placed probe, he wants to grow up and be a big gateway builder, or at least oversee construction. That's the best part about being a probe. You're never a grunt, you're always middle management, overseeing what's happening on the ground floor. One thing to note, if you pack gateways tightly together, Dragoons will not spawn out of them, but Zealots will. Zealots will. Like here, this has a little hole that the Dragoon can pop out of. Tons of observers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is there a 6th one over there? Wouldn't surprise me if there was. More observers, more observers. Oodles and oodles and oodles. So Light has done his own little variant of the Flash style, where he's gotten +1 so quickly, but instead of getting +2 and +1, he's rushing for +2 and then +3 really quickly. So in other words, we're seeing the early game culmination of that play. Build 1 armory, not 2, because we wouldn't have enough money to make an armor, or we wouldn't have enough money to make an army, and if we didn't have an army, we wouldn't be able to take an expansion. But why build it so early? I thought it was a timing attack. I've seen him do that timing attack plenty of times. But here he just opted for the ultra-fast +2, which begets an ultra-fast +3. And Best in classic Best style says, great, I'm maxed. Where can I kill ya? Typically, one of these spikes of power of Protoss is the very second that the Protoss is maxed. Not gonna force nothing. I don't do nothing for nobody for nothing. Oh, there's the other observer. There's just like 8 or 9 observers on this map. Expand behind. And I would really encourage any of you aspiring Protoss players that if you are ever playing to a point where you actually have arbiters, generally, you can also afford to build a lot of cannons at these expansions, and this is a very weird statement, but I'll explain my reasoning. If you are going for very fast arbiters, then you're generally staying kind of low on base count, high on probes, so when you build your next expansion, you already have most of your infrastructure done, so you can build the cannon. And likewise, you can build more cannons. Whenever you don't have infrastructure left to build, cannons generally become affordable. And that time typically lines up with the Arbiter. You could be someone that goes like only 1 gas geyser and gets to 4 bases really fast. And if you then start teching back to Arbiter, what the shit? Anyways, if you then start teching up to Arbiters, or Scouts in this case, then you can start building expansions. Again, when your infrastructure is typically built out, that's when you can afford cannons, and that typically happens around arbiters. So as a mental trigger, I'm making arbiters, so I should probably be able to make some cannons. Hi, my name is Best, and I like to build scouts to counter drops. I mean, actually, this kind of, in a weird way, makes sense, because all Protoss anti-air is bad. Except for the scout. Oh my goodness. So typically at this point, when Protoss gets maxed, that money piles up crazy fast. So I would anticipate sort of a second round explosion of gateways coming from Best. Yeah. I'm gonna speed things up a little bit here, because this is a pretty passive game. And Light looks like he is doing his best self. He's going to be going for the +3 mega push with science vessels that do have EMP. And this is the sort of game that if you're Protoss and you lose this game, you want to rip out your eyes. So that way you never have to look at a tank push ever again. Because this is frustrating. This is the style, again, during the period when Flash was doing this turtle tank style, Terran started to realize, oh, I don't have to attack. Oh, I see, if I don't attack and I get upgrades. Oh, I get it. And Best was, like, I would say the first notable, consistent head-to-head battler against this kind of style. He would just happily go against it again and again and again and win and come out on top. Things like this recall. Sort of spatially, these look close, but if you're Terran, you can't walk through this without blowing this up. So this is an unbelievably inconvenient location for the Terran to be able to get to. Protoss first picks off the science vessels. Also a classic Light move. Light is really good at marching those science vessels headlong in, because Light is a fast pusher. He tends to just march his tanks in a glorious 1A until he sees the confrontation, or until he's at the enemy base. So, if you look at the production, it's just Zealots. Only Zealots. Zealots, 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 Zealots. In giganto numbers. The numbers still favor Light. And what makes this matchup feel very difficult if you are a Protoss player is, when could you have stopped the Terran from doing this? When could that have happened? Because Terran can so easily turtle on 3 bases on this map. But notice Best is just not really giving up. He's recalling around, he's pulling back, and all Best has really lost is the center of the map and this one base in exchange for one of Terran's base. Protoss economy is still actually quite good. And what I'm looking for right now is, will Best over-engage? Will Best try to be crazy aggressive and start bombing in with tons of units? Or is he just going to keep pulling back and keep pulling back and keep pulling back? Pulling back is pretty critical. You lose this expansion. It sucks a bit, but you do still have 2 full running bases. Large strings of armies for Protoss here. A lot of opportunity to counterattack because there is this expansion here, which I believe that Best sees it. Best sees this. Best sees all things. I didn't see how many Zealots were here at first, but there is indeed a crap load of Zealots. Once a lot of the tanks start to get stasised up, Best sees these opportunities, and the glorious Terran Light, which continues to 1A his siege tanks forward. Best is starting to get tiny edges, and this is where Light's, unwillingness to siege tanks a lot of the time can get him into trouble sometimes. Sending one single Zealot up here and one single Zealot over here while these attacks are going on can be, like, enormously beneficial. Light supply is just slowly taking more and more of an edge. And a good rule of thumb for Terran is just push whatever's closest, man. Just keep pushing the main because it's, like, right there. Arbiters don't really have DPS. They sort of have like a recreational water gun that can sometimes kill units, but, you know, doesn't mean it's the best thing to do. I think that Protosses often undervalue how much these counterattacks can deal damage. These are very, very tricky to deal with if you are Terran, because you have a very immobile army. And I talk about this a lot, but it's so easy to just keep ramming your head against the Terran army and just, like, endlessly fall behind. This should fall, yeah. More little tiny vulture attacks. Bess is like, oh, I lived. I'm Harry Potter. See, I think that if Best had focused a little bit more on counterattacking while this, you know, sort of Doom push was outside his front door, I think that he could have been in a far more advantageous position. I mean, he's still doing it. And Arbiters, once the numbers start to get to mid-level, Arbiters are the scariest unit ever, man. Target firing the command center. And suddenly we have a Terran with no income. Terran literally just does not have money. Look at it. It's hanging at 144. His total net worth is 144, which is a net worth higher than any student who went to college in America. I don't know what's happening here. Did this replay bug out? I'm curious about what was going through the mind of Best right at that last second. I mean, am I crazy? This looks better for... Oh no, how did the supplies get so low? Oh, this giant huge army of units. Oh my god, I missed those. I was like not looking at the supply. I was like looking at chat, making about my little student money joke. Oh wait, no, the replay did bug out. What happened to this game state? Are we serious? Are you guys seeing this? This is a different ending than we just looked at. Oh, there it is. There we go. Yeah, okay, there we go. Am I crazy? I can't be crazy. I think there was something going wrong with the replay for a second here. Are we serious? Okay, wait, I'm not crazy, right? Am I crazy? I'm not crazy, right? Am I crazy? I'm not crazy, right? I don't think I might be I'm not crazy, right? You saw that? There was a different angle, please. Please. Tell me I'm not crazy. Oh my god, it's just a DIY replay, man. Oh, thank god. No, I was like watching this. I was like, So this thing died. I remember looking at this. Oh my god, remember how I was like, should that die? Yeah, that should die. Okay, well, you know, whatever. Fine. That's Day 9's analysis of the buggy replay, man. Who cares? I'm moving on to the next one. This happens in Brood War. It is what is known as a desync, where the instructions that are being applied to the units get thrown off due to some garbo, some rando garbo. And the net result is that Day 9 goes insane. Alright. Well, it looks like... What a game that was. Alright, yet again on Fighting Spirit. Oh, a gloriously typical looking opening from the Protoss hero Best. Light. Will he choose to be aggressive? I don't know, but the power of ×8 will help get us there ever so marginally quicker. Whenever I see 1 in the refinery, it's pretty much a strong signal that it's a fast expansion coming up. I saw the SCV not moving and I was like, oh, did it bug out again? And then I was like, nope, Light's just awful. So it looks like a 2 gateway with range opening. These types of openings can really just shock win randomly sometimes. Because one Dragoon with very fast range, this is what Terran's seeing. Alright, so it looks like it is an FD opening from Terran. This is an opening that was developed by the Terran player I Love Uv. That's right, the Protoss opening was developed by the Terran player I Love Uv, where you go 2 gateways, build Dragoons, then you expand. But because you went 2 gateway Dragoons with the range upgrade, you can defend a large variety of early harassment. So this FD opening, popularized by Midas and other SK Telecom Terrans, involves moving out with vultures with mines, 6 Marines and 1 tank. And what's really cool is that Light just recognizes he's in a weak position. He's like, alright, I don't need to attack. It's kind of amazing to me when I watch really good aggressive players play. They'll be so exceptional at identifying times when not to attack. Because, I mean, you feel really weird. You feel odd, right? You've just built a big attacking force, and then you sit at your front and defend your expansion. It just looks wrong, man. It just looks wrong. However, in this circumstance, Light would have been wandering off to certain death because he's up against the 2 gateway opening that has a whole ton of Dragoons. Follow-up from Best is really typical looking. Getting an extra gateway to make some more Dragoons. Probably getting a 4th gateway. Whoa, my god! Oh my god, he's playing standard, yes! And Light's like, I like attacking. Going for the Academy. At this point, we can't really make any solid claim as to what Light is and isn't doing. Until this moment, when we see Light literally moving out with a whole bunch of units. Now, this should be in the favor of Best. Best walks up, blows up everything to hell, and then Light is kind of left in a rough spot. But yet again, Light looking for opportunities to attack, but not forcing the attack. This little maneuver was beautiful, right? He moves down. Light moves down. The rest of his army away as the Dragoons are pursuing. A weaker Protoss player would just keep driving in, would continue to try to chase and pick off, and then those vultures could swing right into the main base. But Best pulled back, so Light pulled back. The ultra-aggressive player's way to take this early expansion, you just keep making vultures. Keep trying to harass, keep pressuring, trying to pick off isolated Dragoons with the weak vultures. All the while securing a 3rd base. 2nd add-on should be popping down in a moment so that Light can actually build a whole lot of tanks. He may just keep building vultures. I love little moves like this, just cutting off the Dragoons from their backup buddy Dragoons. Mines are free, so you may as well just chuck them down. And now the Splitty Poe gets tossed down. Man, I'm not used to doing shows this late. My body, I'm realizing I'm not that dissimilar to my cats, because my cats, when it's like, 8 a.m., they're like, meow, father, meow, I want to starve to death without you, father. And now my stomach's doing the same thing, man. I end my shows at 7 normally. It's 7:08. My tummy's like, Sean, D9, That's fine. Is this game one more game? We'll wrap it up. Nice little episode of Let's Learn StarCraft. So, you may have seen in the Terran vs. Protoss strategy videos this double drop ship to drop a pair of tanks and the rest of the vultures move in. Light just did that without any dropship. These mines, placed in a seemingly arbitrary location, provided cover for the tanks to move this way. The aggression from Terran, if you just look at the minimap, this is typically the opposite of how the minimap's supposed to look once Protoss is on 3 base. Protoss on 3 base wants to have like a big, beautiful ring of observers there. But Light, by building so many vultures, being so forward, look, still just trying to shut off this. Back home, Light does have 2 Marines, 2 vultures, And 2 siege tanks. Wow, it's like Noah's Ark is defending this expansion, right? There's nothing here, man. What an attack, huh? This is so amazing. This is such an annoying position, and then throwing the missile turret down here to be not just a spotter, but also to pick off this observer. I mean, Best has great macro, but... Damn. Pretty sick from Light. Give the vision back to Louvre. So after you hold off a significant attack, if you're Protoss, could be a good time to expand. It's the big thing I'm looking for right now for Best. He's going to toss down that base. Is he going to do a base in the place? The amount of factories here is pretty typical looking. Building a pair of Goliaths just to help shoot down any shuttle that's coming in. And in usual Light fashion, oh, and of course shoot down any observers. In usual Light fashion, he's also getting a dropship, because why not? If you can deal a little damage, you justify yourself, yeah. Vultures continue to poke and prod. Mass swarms of units, arbiters coming down, expansions coming down. And again, once you get arbiters, it's about the right time to be able to get photon cannons. This is a very even-looking game, and I'm curious if Light is saying to himself, hey, last game, even though it bugged out and we got 2 different endings, last game I won by being mega passive and just waiting until I was at 3-3. Perhaps they'll do the same thing. This is the dropship technique we're seeing again. The dropship unloading the 2 tanks up at the top side. Vulture mines just trying to buy extra time, deal maybe a little extra damage. And I mean, the amount of army that Light is killing off is honestly pretty good, but Best macro is just so insane. So Best is trying to make a push to the front. Or, excuse me, Light's trying to make a push to the front. Doesn't look like there's EMP, but honestly, defensive matrix on siege tanks at the front is really good. And I would say that even though the supplies look like they are in the favor of Best, I kind of like that exchange for Light. Light killed off a lot of stuff. And Light's going to immediately just dovetail this into some super annoying harassment up at the top side. Oh, and Best is so sick, just builds the gateway block. Light is one of the best. I mean, screw it, let's just call him the #1. He is the best at identifying that the main engagement is wrapping up, and then he just marches all his vultures in to go do some killing, some doomerating. I'm actually going to do a quick edit to this scene because it is whiffing up a little bit. I'm going to see if this fixes anything. I should have refreshed the scene. Maybe we'll get a little bit better frame rate. StarCraft Remastered, man. Real hard on my PC. I love so much being at this position where it's just like gigantic, endless streams of zealots. So, Light did a very Light-esque thing and has forgotten to upgrade out of one of his armories for a little bit of time. He's still a 2-1, which is great. Flash is really famous for being super active about building turrets, building defenses, building mines. Light is sort of the opposite. Light sort of famously doesn't have that much stuff. Look at these annoying drops. These are so annoying. More vultures moving forward, being so annoying. Ah, if only. Oh my god, after doing so many ab workouts, man, now when I cough, it burns. It burns. Alright. We're hanging out. Hanging out. Dude, guys, it's a build-up game. Light loves having big old non-siege armies. I mean, he got the siege up, but like for once in a Terran player's life, the recall was really nearby the main army. Most of the SCVs died, though. This is kind of what you want in order to start peeling a Terran player apart. These kinds of just like bomb in their attacks. Is there anything happening over here? Nope. Just wall ups. So there's this weird thing to consider if you are in early game, which is if you're against an early game Terran who's aggressive, who likes to attack and mess with you a little bit, fourth bases for them wind up being way, way scarier to lose. Why? Well, because if you're an aggressive Terran, you're spending more time on just your main and just your natural. So by the time you do get your fourth base, that might be like one of your only sources of income. Good old zero energy arbiter. So I love that Best is trying to pressure this location. And this is sort of like the big deciding moment, right? Light has been building up all game long. All his harassment, buying tons of time for these upgrades. Is there enough energy for an EMP on these Templar? Not the best EMPs. The best storms. The very nicest storms. The most exceptional, incredible storms. The beauty that is those storms. Oh. Oh, yeah, the Dragoons picking off. Oh, God, those were so good. But when you're an even supply Protoss, or I should say, if you're a Protoss against Terran and you both have the same supply, it's a little bit tricky. It's a little bit tricky to try to come out on top. But the best macro. Dude, look at this. 7 Dragoons, 7 Zealots. He just finished 15 Zealots. Here they are. The multi-wave toss. Oh, yeah. The manliest game. Doesn't even wait to do cleanup crew. Sends it straight into the fourth base. Again, if we check in the main, I mean, there's only 3 SCVs mining because this is basically an empty patch. A lot of SCVs mining here. It's effectively empty. I mean, if you can lock this out, you're up against a 1-base Terran and you're a 3-base Protoss. Oh, this one, yeah, still has a good amount of income. Super devastating. Again, Light loves to try to counter set up aggression the instant the main fight is beginning to break. And the cleanup crew doth arrive. Oh my god, really, I would describe that Best is for the most part just a janitor of Terran. He just goes up and sweeps up the Terran mess. The later the game gets, the less important the second and third bases are, and the more important these fourth bases are. So, I mean, Best, all his movements cut to the top and sort of push downward from there. GG. We're opening up our last and final game. God, I hope you're having the best day ever, man. I hope your day is fantastic. Gosh. Today is a good day, man. Oh my god. All these games are long. Every one of them. These guys are so good. We have Light in the top right and Best in the bottom left. See what kind of openings are going to do this game. I mean, we've seen pretty much different styles from all of them. All of them, at all points, all minions. All dimensions, all realities are open to me. It's a Hearthstone joke, guys. I'm wearing a Hearthstone shirt. Do you understand? All I ever want to do is create an infinite web of references to various forms of media so that literally no one follows all the jokes. He's great, but like not all the time because he just goes off. Looks like it's... Oh my, is it? Oh my, it's gonna be a 1-gate expand. Look at this. What's this? What's this? Expanding's in the air. The probe and the dragoon are scout units at this point because no information whatsoever. Often this probe will cut diagonally through just to make sure that there's nothing being built in the middle, because that's a very easy loss case. In the meantime, it looks like Light is once again doing an FD opening. Love this FD opening. And this is a very Best-esque move to get the second gateway right away. Really likes to answer muscle with muscle. I mean, someone like Bisu does a lot of cute stuff where he gets a quick Reaver. So that way he can defend and harass and do all that stuff. Best is, he's just a gateway. I think that sentence was good enough. He's a gateway. That's what he is. He's a gateway. He is a gateway. Oh, this is so dirty. Oh my gosh. You know, when you are a really aggressive player, I think that it gives you permission to do really crazy expand plays and for people to not really expect it. Because most of the time, you're doing these big dives, you're throwing armies in. I really like this. I'm going to try to have the better economy, so I want to start by planting a mine where you would have your third. And I mean, Best does have the answer. Best does have 2 gateways to be able to hold off this attack, but there was never an attack coming. I actually think it was only 3 vultures that were built. Yeah. This is so fast. Mind games. I rewatched that earlier because someone tweeted at me, man. Mind games is the funniest thing, man. Apollo and I were laughing so hard. Just look up Day 9 Apollo Mind Games. It's one of the greatest clips out there. So right now, Light is done the double expand. So what he needs, capital N needs, is tanks. Tanks, 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 to tanks, 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 right? This is, oh, look at this cute little defense. Isn't that nice? Not nice enough. He needs tanks. He needs so many tanks. Infinite tanks. And if you are Best, you're going to start wondering, what the hell's been happening back here? You see a wall off here, you know your opponent either is taking or has taken the third base, right? Oh my god, my tummy. My tummy's like one of my cats right now. Dana. And I love this answer. Oh, Carrier! Carrier! Carriers! A player who goes for ultra-fast 3 bases necessarily has to build a lot of tanks to defend. Because if you only have a few tanks here and a few tanks here, you get broken at both locations. And so if you're Protoss and you see a fast 3 base, you know the big thing you have is time. Now carriers, we did the measurement. It takes about 5 minutes from when this starts to when the carrier is done and has interceptors finished. So that means that it's 7:44. We rewind 15 seconds to 7:30. 7:30 plus 5 minutes, for all you mathematicians out there, is 12.5 minutes. One of the scariest moments of my entire day. We could have ruined everything. So that's quite an extensive amount of time. So very intelligent moves here by the Protoss hero. And here, Light is doing another very reasonable play. If I'm going to be defending for a really long time, time is the biggest cost to upgrade, so let's just go ahead and get something to defend. Boom. Another armory. So I've seen a lot of Protoss players that stick 4 gateways when going for the fast carrier, but this is a quick third too, so 6 is fine. Light is being the lightest player. Oh my gosh. This is kind of early to be building this many factories. I'm curious to see what he's going to do with it. Sometimes you'll wind up with these really weird builds where you like really quickly get a large number of bases, which generally causes your opponent to also get a lot of really early bases, which then permits you to be able to attack because you're both cutting so many attacking units that you have a timing window where you both have almost nothing, but you have more almost nothing, so you break through and win. Oh, it's so confusing. Carriers, carriers. 12.5 minutes. Remember that number. 12.5 minutes. 8 gateways. Wow. Now the panacea to carriers is attacking. And it looks like Light has seen it. Yeah, I mean, you don't see the buildings here, but you see this big hollow fog of war. There is a scan there, so Light knows that it's... Well, everyone can't see anything anymore. Isn't this sad? Alright. And if you see your opponent going carriers, and you have any number of factories that's more than 4, you can generally just move right on out. So the carriers should be just finished, but they are only just now building interceptors. Remember, it's going to be about another 2 minutes of time while these are building interceptors for them to be done. About 5 minutes, 5 minutes. Slow zealots. Oof. This is looking really good for Light. But both players are sort of like, hip hip, 1A. Even small numbers of tanks against Pure Dragoon is heavily in favor of the tank. So Light is really smartly adding in a ton of factories and immediately blitzing forward. He's going for 2-1, which is nifty. But I think Light needed to pull back a little bit, because once you lose Vultures, Vultures is the one reason that you can't continue an attack, because Zealots are just so much better than everything. So Light is just storming forward, building actually almost only Goliath tank. Wow. Which causes Light's economy to be skewed heavily in favor of minerals, because he's basically just building a gas-focused army and not burning all his minerals on Vultures. So then he's just like, all right, well, I'm just going to go crazy expanding. And this is such a good example of, like, the... On paper, in theory, this is the correct thing to do. In practice, a lot of Terran players clutch up, because most of the time you are a turtley race. You turtle it up, you sit back, you wait to move out, but nope. The instant you're up against carriers, carriers are the less mobile, more powerful unit. So you can begin to go absolutely crazy expanding, as all these various command center attempts will show. And I mean, hell, you just like build a bunch of vultures here, or build a bunch of mines there with vultures, and then you're in grade A shape. Yeah, here's Light. He's like, damn it, I should have built these mines earlier. So now that we're getting to 12.5 minutes, you'll note these carriers are just now finishing up their interceptors. There's +2 attack coming up. Light's only conservatively building out of 2 Stargates. Once this number gets up to like 6, 8, it's like almost impossible to play against. A dramatic finish. I think Light could have thrown down another command center right now, but I think he's just distracted. So at this point, like, Protoss can be like counterattacky with the ground units, but generally wants to just protect the carriers. Let's protect the carriers, man. It's Dota in the early days of 2000. These carriers are anti-mage. All the rest of these are expendable chumps, man. Oh my gosh. Look at this. Oh, what a counterattack. So this is going to be one of these brunt force moves from Best, where Best is like, I know I can't really break through here or here efficiently, but I'm just gonna look. I'm just gonna look. Massive amounts of missile turrets can be really helpful, because it just buys lots of time for the very swift Goliaths to get up there. And oh, did Best screw up? This is kind of an orphan spot right now, right? It's easy to scoop beneath and cut off. Best knows it. Best is like, oh shit, he's starting to run off. So carriers are sniper units. They need to pick off Goliaths one at a time. But if you don't have a direct line of sight at the carrier, you just start shooting down interceptors. Look at this. Each of these carriers, building 5, building 4, building 1, building 3. Oh. There's just not that many interceptors alive right now. Oh, this is a nice move. He's peeled up to the corner to try to isolate the Goliaths, so that then he can come from behind with his ground units, and at the same time, he's been posturing on this right side, making it very hard for there to be also other ground units by the carriers. Oh, wait, and Light's actually just gonna... Whoa! Best is just going into the top expansion! Sick. So Light appears to be on his game right now. Best is not the best at carrier micro. He is the best at just general macro. And that lived? God. But because carriers are carriers, keep that in mind. They inevitably whittle down that Goliath count, which is why it's so important to be aggressive and to attack, so you can continue to force the carriers to fight into you and lose all their interceptors again and again and again. And Light is attacking at kind of like a crazy angle right now, because he leaves this top side completely undefended. It's basically all in on trying to kill this main base. Alright, who's gonna win? Alright, tell me who's winning. Who's winning this game? I don't know. It's not that many Goliaths. This is one of these moments that feels really bad if you're Terran. Like, I really don't like this position as Terran. Technically, it is just a 2-base Protoss against a 3-base Terran. Technically. Oh, we lost a carrier. I will not count this as a base. I will also not count this as a base. I don't know. I don't know what counts or what doesn't count. I'm not a figure of authority. I'm merely an observer in this little game called StarCraft. So it looks like Light is actually committing to surrounding this entire army up here, which is such a nice play. You know, even though it might look like a little bit of a weird comparison, if there's a small number of Marine Medic and you're Zerg, you overwhelm that and pick it off, right? Because you're faster and he's slower. Small number of Dragoons, large number of Goliath tank. Now, how on earth is Light going to defend this? He's not. He's just not going to defend it. He's just going to keep attacking here. Does Light know that this expansion exists? I mean, come on, he has to know. He has to at least suspect. So, by continuously pressuring this main base, this is such a beautiful example of how to defend a base with aggression if you're the more mobile player. If you just continue to attack and continue to apply massive pressure in different locations, it's so hard to even deal with this. Command center can land again. Small counterattack here. Oh, and then Light is going to retreat to the right. This is a lot of carriers now. It's at 10. He's hit infinite carriers. 10 is infinite, man. I gotta be honest with you, I just still do not like this position at all as Terran. I hate being up against huge numbers of carriers. This is what separates a man Terran from a boy Terran. I am but a mere boy Terran. I am but a nubile cherub Terran. Wow. And now he's going to lose a carrier. No way, he loses 2 carriers. Oh my god. Dude, Light's a killer. Light's a slayer. Light is actually building only Goliaths at this point in time. Oh, DTs to counterattack the top side. DTs are always great to build alongside carriers because it's very hard to hear the attack sound when it's underneath all these interceptors. I don't know who the hell's gonna win, man. Oh, this is exciting. Because on one hand, you can shoot down interceptors, almost guaranteed, 4 or 5 per volley. But it's also really easy to just keep losing Goliaths in this spot. I think Terran wins? There's still 9 fully healthy carriers, but look at how many Goliaths are. Look at how many interceptors are falling. But Best is staying focused. He's just trying to go for the bases. This expansion is still has just a little bit of cash left on it. Dude, Best doesn't even have money to build interceptors. Oh my gosh. God, this is like the I don't even have money for toilet paper of Protoss, man. I mean, this is just desperation at this point for Best. He needs to kill off this base. Oh, Light played this out so well after he saw the carriers. He attacked so quick. Oh! I wish there was an interceptor counter, man, because it would be at, like, what, 20 now? Looks like it's like 24 interceptors. Gosh, and it makes sense, you know, Light, who's a legendary attacking player, would just be so good at dealing with carriers like this. It's funny that I so rarely even see him up against carriers, because often Protoss just don't feel like they have an opportunity to. 1 interceptor. 3 building, 4 building, 3 interceptors, 1 interceptor, no interceptors, no interceptors. I think these guys don't move because if you issue an attack command, they don't have anything to attack with, so they're just like, la la la. Oh my god, the hero of the world. Yeah, a small number of Dragoons. You know, there's a lot of players who, you know, came from the high money map days, you know, like Big Game Hunters, fastest map ever players, who would just go like 7-gate carriers all of a sudden. And they'd always ask questions like, why only 2 Stargates? In this case 3, but pretty much it's always 2. And the answer is that it's so much better to have a handful of Dragoons to reinforce your carriers than it is to just go pure carrier. Because if you're a pure carrier, screw the unit matchups. You get zoned out of your bases. You can't deal with counterattacks like this. And good game. Oh. Ooh. Ah. Ooh. Well, even though we had a little bit of a late start, it was a lot of fun to watch those games because the players are just so sharply identifiable when you watch them play. Light's crazy early attacking builds. Even when he plays a macro style like he did in that just last game, he does it in this way that is like built upon an attacking foundation, where he does the FD opening that he's done 1,000 times. Best prepares to defend, overbuilds Dragoons. Whoops, it looks like there's 2 command centers behind that. Ah, it's just so fantastic. I'm gonna just stretch. If any of you have any questions, we'll just take like 2 or 3 more minutes. Questions are perfect right now. I'm going to turn off sub chat. I'm going to go pretty quickly because I'm hungry. Snowbluff wants to know how Despy's doing. Despy, honestly, Rob was here for like a week, and I think Despy was a little unraveled by Rob being there. Despy was really high energy. She hissed, she bit me, she hissed at Rob, but she's been doing really, really, really good lately. Like today, I woke up and we played string for about 30 minutes, 35 minutes. And then she lied down on my legs and just scratched her. And I have my iPad right here on my computer. She really likes the texture of that iPad. Well, I'll take one question about these games. One question. No one's asking any questions, Peep. I just turned off subchat. People are like, I'm free! Wah! Supernova Maniacs says, any plans to expand this to revealing user replays someday, just like in the early days of the dailies? Maybe. I'm leery, I think is the way I'll describe it, because these Let's Learn StarCraft episodes, not like this one today, which is just like reviewing games, but the historical Let's Learn StarCrafts that happened over the last few months, it was taking a good 10, 15 hours a week outside of the shows just to do like a 2-hour show. I mean, I've recorded probably a few thousand. No, probably closer to 40. Yeah, maybe like 2,000 or so videos for this series, recorded little ones. And so the idea of doing like user replays sort of opens up the floodgates to do a lot of extra work that I'm not sure will even translate. Because if I'm doing like 10 hours of work and stuff where like I'm generating clips that I can then assemble, I have a lot more control over that. And from the good old days of Fun Day Monday and Newbie Tuesday, just the volume and sorting through was like 90% throwing out work and 10% keeping what was there, if that's something like that. So possibly, I need to think through. I need to be a little more thoughtful with that. But user reviews can be, I think, interesting because there's a lot of stuff to talk about that are not in pro replays. Because you know, if you are not an A+ player, you might be up against someone who's whiffing on his production, and so are you. Which doesn't mean that it's the same as pros, but bad. You know, it's something like you'll have less minerals and more gas. That always happens because it's really easy to put 3 guys in gas. Very hard to put constant worker production to maximize minerals. So lower level games tend to be more gas heavy in their nature. Things like that. Yeah. Volts. Volts love this one. The 2-gate Dragoon range build 2 games ago looked strong, aggressive capabilities plus safe. What are the main downsides? I would say that there's 3 core downsides because, God, who doesn't love a good list of 3? The first one is, it's a pretty basic one. You're trying, it's generally a more defensive opening. Hi, Sheriff. What a good cat. It's generally more defensive because you're building the 2-gate Dragoons. And, I mean, technically you can pressure, but primarily it's there to just mollywomp any aggressive openings. But you're just kind of getting your expansion later. So it's like, in many ways, a slightly worse 1-gate. That's the way a lot of modern players view 2-gate Dragoon expand. They're just like, why wouldn't I just 1-gate Dragoon expand? So that's one downside. The second downside is one that's really hard to see. Like really, really, really hard to see. Which is you can often get really confused as to how many Dragoons you're supposed to build and mess that up. Because all you have are the gateways, right? You don't have observers, you don't have any other tech units. I mean, basically you don't have the robo. So you can overbuild Dragoons. And if you start cutting them, you can underbuild Dragoons and lose. But more importantly, if you are making 2 gates to underbuild Dragoons, why not go for the 1-gate expansion? Same sort of thing. But the biggest downside is just the inflexibility. Your opponent is going to see you with your gateway count and know that there's not Reaver drops coming. Know that there's not Dark Templar type stuff coming, and you can't get your scout out very early because you went out 2-gate. I think it's the big thing. It's just like a little slow, a little slow. So I think that if there's maps that have inverted ramps, something what's an inverted ramp map? The Gladiator, something like that. You know, where you start on a low ground, you go up to a high ground, like Requiem or Reverse Temple, you know, shit like that. If you have a reverse ramp, then going 2 gates, you accentuate the strength of 2-gate Dragoon early on, which is that you can apply pressure. You can oftentimes get contains. And so suddenly you're like, yeah, I'm getting a later expansion, but I can really, first of all, fuck up aggressive openings, but I can also kind of fuck up early expanse sometimes too. And it's these sort of opportunities and possibilities that are so good. My eye is really dry. I'm going to take out my eyeball. I'm going to end this show. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm not going to be playing Hearthstone tomorrow because I forgot. I have access to Surviving Mars. I'm going to play some Surviving Mars then. Woo! 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 Also, to answer Supernova Maniac's question, I would absolutely recommend 1-gate Observer, 1-gate Observer, 2 gates Expand instead of 1-gate Expand. Both of those are great. Both of those are great.